Hey everyone, welcome to the From the Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Shane Grove, and I just remind everybody, much to our producer Phil's chagrin, because he wants me to shorten up this intro, which, I'm looking at the time, it takes like 30 seconds. I mean, come on, who doesn't have 30 seconds to learn all the great places to come find the From the Shadows podcast? So you can find us on Facebook at From the Shadows Podcast. Find us at After the Shadows, which is our forum page on Facebook. You can find me at Shane Grove Author on Instagram, obviously From the Shadows Podcast on Instagram, or you can go to our website, hit the contact button, and send me an email. Share whatever's on your mind, especially if you have an experience or something that you would like to come on the show and talk about. So that's it. Phil, if you're listening, that was pretty short. I got it in quick. So Phil should be happy. Phil's never happy. But I'm happy because joining me on this episode is one of my all-time favorite guests. Florida knows how to it's good guest between Stacy Brown Jr. and Mark Muncy. I mean, they probably combine, they're almost double figures in how many times they've been on the show. But Stacy, thanks for coming back to the From the Shadows podcast.
No problem, man. I appreciate you having me, dude. I love it. I have to ask you, what's the song in the intro?
The song in the intro is, it's called In the Shadows.
Yeah.
It's a song that I'm a co-writer on, sung by a good friend of mine, Mike Allen, who's a artist down in Nashville. And that's it. I mean, we did, and that's how we got the name From the Shadows podcast. Because when me and the judge were thinking of names, I'm like, well, how about From the Shadows? We can kind of tie it into the song. We got our theme song already done. Well, little did I know that From the Shadows is not a very common searched phrase. So
right.
So when people are looking at Bigfoot or ghosts or UFOs, we're not high on the list. You got to come actually looking for us.
I gotcha. Well, it sounds kind of like it gets stuck in your head, right? And it sounds kind of like Ozzy Osbourne, right? Like the singer.
We've heard that before. We've heard, and every time I tell Mike that, he's like, "Are you kidding me?" So
yeah, dude. I was like, I know he's not able. I know he doesn't have the rights to an Ozzy song, so it can't be Ozzy, right?
No, I do not.
I wondered that. So
yeah, Mike, and it's. I think it's up on Spotify. It's up on YouTube and stuff. So like the full version. I think we even did me and one of the other writers put together a lyric video, I think, for it. It's somewhere up on YouTube. So, but I'll tell Mike will appreciate that because he's super, super talented. He comes from his dad was a hit songwriter in Nashville, wrote some big songs. And so, yeah, he's a good dude. He's a good dude. But
hell yeah.
But we didn't come here to talk music, even though we could talk music all day long. I think you got some good music stories yourself. But I wanted to have you on because you guys just released a documentary on Amazon, right? The Conjuring House Experiments. Yep. And my social media girl Nita, she, like, I can't even keep up with what she's doing on Instagram half the time. And I saw this thing up and I'm like, wait a second, what are these guys doing now? And then she starts blowing my phone up. She goes, oh my God, you got to get this and watch it. It is blowing my mind. I kept rewinding it. And she goes, I'm going to watch it again. And then I started texting you about it. And I'm like, okay, what's going? So I went and purchased it and I watched it. And now I got lots of questions. So tell everybody, I'm sure most everybody's familiar with the Conjuring House. Like what the backstory is a little bit about that. What made it so appealing for you guys to go and doing a documentary there?
So the backstory to the Conjuring House is there was a war fought there, the King Philip's War, right? And I guess it was the most bloody battle in American history, right? That's what I understand. I haven't fact checked that. That may be wrong, but whatever.
That's not a way to start out the show. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, it was irrelevant. Like, it happened there, right?
We'll blame it on RPG. Blame it on RPG. That's probably sounds like something.
Everything on that fool. Everything. But yeah, so a lot of the battle was actually, or some of the battle was fought there, right? They were shooting out of the house to natives coming up in the yard. There's like 12 soldiers buried there on the property. And this house, I believe, was built, I know it was built in the 1600s. I can't remember if it was 75 or 25, but it's older than our country, right? And one of the early roads connecting, Rhode Island to New York runs right through the yard. Right. It's just kind of cool. It's super old place. And then I guess around the 60s, 70s, a guy by the name Carl Johnson answered a classified ad about paranormal activity going on. The lady wanted some help. And he went out there, and then he got a hold of the Warrens. And the Warrens went out there, the seance, she got thrown across the room, Miss Perrin did, and a bunch of stuff went on. And so this ended up becoming like one of their most famous case files, right? And then, of course, it was turned into a movie. And the reason we got connected with it is because one of my friends bought it. This guy I had met through Bill Brock named Corey Heinzen. Bill texted me one day and he's like, "Hey dude, Corey's about to buy the Conjuring House. I might get out of here," whatever. And then, so they were closing on it and it took a month or so, but, Corey's like, "Yeah, I'm buying this thing, yada, yada." I'm like, "Bro, no way." So, now I got a friend that's got the Conjuring House, and we're going to see how haunted it is. So I've been up there a few times, and I was always wanting to make a documentary there. And then he decided to sell the house years after because he got screwed through COVID, right? Like Rhode Island is super harsh on their lockdowns and stuff. Mm-hmm. Those people living in fear up there, bro. So anyways, they had them locked down. And then on top of that, there's always people coming in the yard. And it's just a lot of hassle. And the house has effects on you too. Like it's like you can only stay there so long.
So he wasn't actually, was he actually living in the house, or was he just owned it? So he was living in the house.
Well, he had another house in Maine, right? So he would come back and forth, and Bill was living there. Bill Brock, he was living there for, I think, 2 years. And, just investigating every day, but you got to go mow the grass and stuff like that sometimes. But I guess he got tired of it. He wanted to sell it. And he told me, he said, "Hey, it's now or never. Come on up here and shoot your documentary." So made a phone call. We got the money up to do it. And we went and we did it. And, it was amazing, man. It was something else.
Well, so the other times you had gone and done some investigation there, because I think you guys alluded to that there's certain things that were not allowed to be done there, maybe until he decided to sell it, and then he just said, "Okay, do whatever." Now, what were some of the things you weren't allowed to do previous that you couldn't wait to do?
Well, we couldn't bury people in the yard, right?
Wait. No, bury people in the yard. Who would think? Okay, we'll get to that. Like, I wouldn't even think that. Like,
yeah, there's like no seances. There were some other rules that were in there. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but there was a list of things that you weren't supposed to do. And I think one of them was actually sleeping under the covers, but I think that was for like sanitary reasons. I did it anyways. I broke the rules on that one.
Do the new homeowners know that?
I hope they wash them sheets.
Oh, geez. So you get this. So I'm guessing, knowing you've probably had a list of things that you really wanted to do if you ever got the chance, or was it like, hey, you get to come, and then you're like, okay, you got together with the rest of the Outkast Paranormal crew and said, okay, what are we going to do? What's the game plan? How are we going to execute it?
Well, so we didn't have really no game plan at first. And it was kind of cool because we were talking to James. We're like, hey, we're just going to go. And I'd been talking to Jay Prather, who he makes ghost tech, like he makes a bunch of tools for all these different various shows. And, asked him if he had any experiments, that we could use that maybe hadn't been used before. And then this WorldGate experiment came up. And so that was kind of our main thing going there. That and the seance, those were the only two things that we originally planned on doing that were actually done. Right. So like there were a bunch of experiments that we had planned that included hallucinogenics, like a CE5 in like a bathtub out in the yard. So we had a bunch of stuff drawn up. But then once we got there, the way it all shook down, we ended up coming up with, experiments of our own while on scene. So like the seance and the WorldGate were the only thing that was really actually planned from before.
So let's go. Okay. Let's talk about this WorldGate thing and this. So that was based off of a paper or a file that the CIA did, like
yeah.
So how did that come about, and what was their experiment and what was their findings?
So the Nazis were big into the occult, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were all these like magic and stuff like that. So Hitler invested some money, and these guys were doing this experiment and it was they based their experiment off of like the Babylonians and Sumerians. Right.
Oh, okay.
Something they were doing. So this experiment actually goes way back, further than the Nazis. But like, Nazi's a sexy word. So you say that, people's ears perk up. Like, what are you talking about now? A bunch of white guys. But so they did it, and then the CIA, when they got formed, they got the documents, and so they redid it, and they come out of their experiment saying we live in an energy hologram. That reality's fake, because we're just perceiving it, right, with our eyes and our ears and all that. But what we perceive is a lie. And all religions were real. I don't know what they meant by that, but they also said there was this place called the Absolute, and that's where you would go to once you clicked out. So
meaning once we left whatever this reality is that we are perceiving.
Yeah. Once our consciousness left our body, which is what they call clicking out. So it'd be like an OBE, like an out of body experience. Okay. You would click out, and you're in this place called the Absolute, and that was everything. You know what I mean? It's the perfect name for it.
Yeah.
Right? It's the perfect name because it is everything all at once. And to experience that was very strange. But anyways, when we did all that, he built, I guess, using frequencies, because your brain is in two hemispheres, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the deal is you want to sync them at about 4 to 7 hertz. And once you sync your brain, you can leave your body. And I promise you, brother, you can see real things. And you shouldn't be able to see what's going on in Florida when your body's laying in Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But the CIA did this experiment for a while, like 6 years or something like that. And there was a part we didn't know. You could become untethered. There's something holding you to your body, right? And you could become untethered, and then you're lost. I don't know what happens to your body. I don't know if you stay in a coma or whatever. But like, I didn't know that going into the experiment either.
How did you find that? How did you find that out? Like, was it that like the last piece of the report that you guys that was like stuck? Like, how did you find that? How did you find that out?
So I found that out during the editing process. I was looking up some little info on it because I had never actually read any of this stuff. I had read like online what they said their findings, but I didn't actually read the papers. Jay read the papers, and I trust Jay, so I'm like, all right, cool. It doesn't matter if I read them or not, anyways. You know what I mean? Like, the experiment's going down. It don't matter. You're in it, and you know. So, but becoming untethered, I had no idea. So I'm assuming they had people
that became untethered.
Yeah, but I believe if I would have had the choice while I was under, I would have became untethered too.
Really?
I didn't want to come back.
Because, I mean, that just opens up so many questions about, I mean, if they truly believe and then you go to this absolute and you understand that's where everybody is going anyway, once we become untethered on purpose or, you know, in our...
To pass away.
Like, what's the point? You know, what's the point of us doing this podcast? You know, it doesn't matter in the end of the day if we're all just going to be, you know. So it's like, what is it's back to the question: what's our purpose? You know, what is this purpose of this existence if it ends in the same? Everybody goes to the same place. You know,
I don't think everybody goes to the same place.
I
don't think it was like that. And so this is where I'm confused because here in the future, we're going to do some more. I don't know if I can say things, but maybe, well, fuck it, whatever. So like the Winchester House, we're talking with them about performing this there. And I also want to try it in the lab to see, because part of my experience was terrible.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I tell everybody I went to heaven, hell. I see my future, my past, and my present all in 47 minutes. When in reality, I was probably only clicked out for about 7 to 8 minutes. Right. So with the experiment, you're laying there on a cot. And in the World Gate, so everybody's placed in the house through gematria. So you'll get into a certain spot. The universal math has to line you up with this seat. The seat is in a pentagram, okay? Or a Sepa symbol, as the Egyptians and other people had. And throughout the house, you're in this shape. In the center is is where the portal was supposed to open. So you're laying there with a face mask on, like a sleep mask, and you got headphones on, and these frequencies are being pumped into your ears, but then there's also a separate track for the house. Like, there's a track for the travelers. There's something I'm listening to. And then there's a track for the environment. Okay, because we're now trying to get the house down to the space that we're occupying, we're also trying to get that down to 4 to 7 hertz. So you're laying there on a cot. There's a speaker above you that's playing this sound. That speaker's got a mic hooked to it. So it's recording that sound and looping it back to the center. Okay? And in the center where the portal's supposed to open, there's a person sitting in a chair to greet whatever's on the other side. And there's like 4 18-inch subwoofers blasting this music. And so it just creates a big loop going through the house. Woo, and the house is shaking, like windows shake, you know, super loud. But you couldn't hear it in here. And then so everything's supposed to get down, the energy builds, and the portal opens. And I think that's when we clicked out and the portal opened. Like I wasn't aware of my physical body really anymore. Right, like there was at first in the first part of it, I kind of seen the basement, and then that was it. Like next thing I knew, I was like up in the clouds, and I'm kind of just like floating. And it's like when you look down from a plane, if you're flying somewhere at night, and you look down and see the lights from the city. You know what I mean? When you're like coming in on your approach, it's kind of like that. But it was just odd, man, because there was. During that part when we first clicked out, it was such an intense feeling of love. And I've never had that. I don't think that's attainable here in this plane of existence. The only other time I'd ever been that happy, that euphoric, I had taken Molly. Right. So like I had taken drugs. And then that part, you're seeing your kids and you're not aware that you're actually seeing your kids when you're first riding. You just think you're rolling through visions and stuff, you know, and I see my girlfriend and I'm riding in a car with it was my mom. It wasn't my mom, but it was my mom. Right. And like I got my face pressed up. I'm a child. I got my face pressed up against the window and it's cold. I can feel it. And I'm watching telephone poles just go by and go by and go by. And then I end up seeing this little girl, and pretty little girl. I loved this little girl. I'd never seen this little girl in my life. But I adored this child. I perceived it to be my grandchild or something, you know. That was my first thought. And then she turns and looks at me, and this growth just kind of grows out on her neck. And she looks at me with this face, and I'm like, oh, no. Right? It starts getting bad then, and then this gold tablet appears. And see, that was the weird part, because at first it's just like you see a little bitty light, like a little bitty pin light right here, you know, and you're looking at it, and then it's now you're seeing flashes of light, and you're seeing clouds, and it's like an eruption. But then you get into where you're actually into visuals. And so I see this little girl, this gold tablet. It meant something. I don't know what the hell it meant, but it meant something. And then that gold tablet kind of molds down into this lady, this like dreadlocked lady. And that was the part of it that was hell. That was the bad part, right? Like those feelings were negative. Like then I was hearing loud like explosions, but it sounded like gunshots. And me laying there, I was thinking to myself, somebody's broke into the house and they're killing everybody. Oh, well. Right. Like even in the bad part, you know, but I was just thinking, man, somebody's killing everybody in the house, but I didn't want to get up, you know? And I guess after after it's all said and done, I can't wait to do it again. I would do it right now. I think if everybody on the planet did it, that's what I would like to do. I would like to get people to experience it, because all this other crap will stop. Like my life changed. Like right there. That was a defining moment. I'm not scared to die anymore. You know, I used to have this fear that I would leave everybody and, you know, I'm going to miss them. If that's where I'm going, I ain't going to miss them. I'll be seeing them. I'll be right there with them. And then when I look at them, I'll just be so happy. Like, no matter what it is they're doing, I'll be so happy to see them. I'll be so proud, you know, and that was just like, that's where I hope I go. I hope that's what happens when I die, you know.
Well, so did, you know, and I've, having watched this, I kind of saw what everybody else experienced. Now, was there, off what they said on camera, has this experience had as profound effect on them as it did you? Like, I mean, how you're saying that this changed my whole life, right? That, I mean, or did everybody have a different feeling after they came back out of it, as far as what they just had experienced?
So Joey, the camera guy, he was a skeptic. Even him, he wants to do it again because his rational mind, I guess, is telling him that he was hallucinating, seeing himself in the womb. You know, however, it's an audio frequency, bud. We didn't take nothing. It was just one frequency being played in our right ear, one being played in the left, and there's a lot of unexplained things that he can't come to grips with. But he wants to do it again. Everybody wants to do it again. James had a significant alteration of his life. He's now got into scripture really heavy. Josh, I don't know. Josh is so hard to read at times, but like so much stuff happened to him. Like his group, he's seen all the people that he knew that were dead when he was doing the World Gate. His grandpa was there, though.
His grandpa's not dead.
His grandpa wasn't dead at the time. His grandpa died when we were standing in line at the Boston airport to get back on the plane.
What?
Yeah, brother.
Holy smokes.
Well, what's weirder than that is Jerry Pacheco. I met him at the Lizzie Borden house. He came over and he claims he's a psychic. Now, a lot of people make that assumption, and I don't believe hardly none of them. So I got to see it. And he come up and told me, he goes, "Hey, man, I had a vision of Josh's mom last night, and she's crying. If I go tell him, is he going to be okay?" And I'm like, Josh is big softy, bro. You know what I mean? Like, next to impossible to get him that mad, I think. But go ahead, dude. He'll just tell you to F off if he don't want to talk to you, I promise. And he goes and tells him, "Hey, you need to call your mama. You need to call your mom," because this was Friday night we did I believe it was Friday night we did the last World Gate. And it was, I don't know. Anyways, Jerry told him you need to call your mom. And Josh was like, "Yeah, I'll call her. And then Sunday morning when we were standing in the airport line, getting on to board, he gets a text that his grandpa had passed away. And so, like there's a lot of things like that came out of this trip that even a skeptic would be like, well, I mean, if you're skeptical, that's fine, but tell me the mathematical chance that happened. Because I got Josh talking on tape 2 days before his granddaddy died that he's seen everybody he knew, but his granddad was there and he doesn't know why. And his granddaddy dies 2 days later. Or the next day, whenever it was.
Well, so when the CIA did this experiment, where did they do the experiment at? Was it a more, I mean, because I'm assuming that you guys, again, I'm assuming you thought there's already stuff going on here. This has got to be there's some kind of activity, some kind of force, there's kind of unknown here. Maybe this will help it out. When in reality, it probably didn't matter where you did this.
Well, so I think that's why I had the negative part of it. I think the negative part was the stuff in the house.
Ah, see? Okay.
I think if we had done this in a controlled environment, like in a lab where they did it, because Jay also altered some things. He made it his own, but the version they did of it was in a lab, and I don't know, maybe they didn't write about that. They didn't write that there were negative entities that people were experiencing or anything. However, I think that's why I had the negative part, because there was this lady, right? And like when I seen her, when she formed, it was bad. She was a bad person, right? And everybody talks about Bathsheba and all this stuff, but I don't know about any of that. But after the second World Gate concludes, some of the guys are chasing a woman's voice screaming through the house. Every time they get to the room she was screaming in, it'd be in the next room, and there'd be another scream. And then that went all the way up to the birthing room. And when they opened the door on the birthing room, there was a scream, and then that was it. Scream and a loud bang or something like that. It was crazy.
Well, okay. I mean, it's almost like oh, wow. I mean, so many things are going through my head about that, but it's almost like that you guys really like came face to face with her, and she was not prepared for that, and was actually scared of you guys coming to, and maybe she could not differentiate after you guys got out of the World Gate, experiment, that you guys weren't still, face to face with her and coming to get her something. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of.
Yeah, it was strange because the house hadn't been that active. And there was probably an hour period after the World Gate ended. So I'm guessing we did open the portal. We didn't know that. We were thinking we would visibly open a portal that we could walk through. That was what the goal was. Right.
But that's not at all what it is then.
No, it's not, and it opened the portal in your mind. You can't travel there physically, I don't think. I think we have to transcend the meat suit to go wherever we go,
So you're opening up the portal, and you're not going to, of something physical, because if you open something up, something can come in probably just as easy as you guys can go into. Out.
Right.
So anything that comes in is probably not going to be physical, but it may be spiritual or whatever level you want to call it. And maybe somebody came through that and realized, because you guys did it in that house and you're talking that's where the evil is, maybe there was somebody good that came in and then realized, oh my God, I'm trapped in this place, and that's
and they want to get out.
Yeah.
They want to get out. And dude, I tell you, it was just, you have to try it. Like, I know talk is cheap, and that's the bad thing. That was the hard thing about this movie, because like if you've seen some of our other like Skunk Ape Experiments, we had all these cool transitions and it's kind of polished up so it looks like a TV product, but we didn't really have tangible evidence that I could show you. I could only tell you my experience. So that was the problem with making the movie. It was like, well, hell, nobody's going to believe any of this unless they're taking our word for it, because that's all we have, you know? So we just tried to present it as rough, not rough. I wouldn't say rough, but like as
but it's
close
real.
to.
It's as real.
Yeah.
It's pretty real. I mean, and that's what, and I told you that before I went on is, yeah, you don't have like a video of the World Gate opening and watching you guys' you know, spirit or consciousness leaving your body or anything. But there is that, I mean, look, I've seen some of your movies. You're not that good an actor. So it's not, what I'm saying, but you guys were all like, something happened to every single one of you. Okay. And,
Right.
And it didn't seem like anybody was very skeptical of other than, you know, but even he had stuff and he looked amazed, like, I don't know what's going on. But it's not like anybody woke up and said, that was just a dream. You know, that was,
Yeah.
You know. To play devil's advocate, that very well could be the other, you know, 80% of our brain that we don't use. Maybe you're opening, that's what you're opening up. And what you're experiencing is just a lifetime of memories coming together and where you want to go and stuff. I don't know. I mean, if we're only using 20% of our brain, which is what a lot of the experts think, what happens if you open it all up? I mean, are you in a sense the world gate yourself? You know, I mean,
that's the thing. Like, what does the other part of that do? But like, I think we're going to be more, because we are going to do this again, and we're going to focus more on that. Because here's the deal, and it's kind of, I guess there's ways to like, okay, so I seen my family, and I didn't know what they were doing. And I texted them because they had blowing my phone up because there was some mist in the house. And I'm texting them back, are y'all at Man-Man's, which is their aunt? You know, because that's where I seen them. I didn't know they were staying there, which it didn't matter. I was gone, but they went to stay with their aunt. And, you know, they were there, and I see my girlfriend, and it's like, okay, if that's possible, then there's got to be ways we can prove this is real. Like, Shane could be in the basement with a piece of paper that only he knows what he's drawing on it, and then we could have somebody view it and tell you what it is. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So
like do it with a purpose rather than just
right.
And how do and I wonder, how do you declare that purpose other than you know what I'm saying? Do you
right?
Because you did you have preconceived thoughts going into that, like what you wanted to see, what you wanted to experience, or were you just kind of like totally open, like, okay, let's just see what happens, you know?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was more of the thoughts that this probably isn't going to do anything, or something's going to happen and the feds are going to be here.
like the earth is going to open up, or a UFO is going to.
Yeah, like I had no idea. You know what I mean? Because we were trying a real experiment that government scientists said they got these results from. You know, so, well, yeah, they could be lying, yada yada, but then you lay down in that damn chair, and it's like all that talk where you was like, oh, that's crap, that all goes away. And it's like, all right, what the hell's about to happen?
Well, but then you go back to the Nazis were doing it too. And what were the Nazis trying to, you know, because you're saying, okay, I think this is all good. And the bad part was where we were at. So what were the Nazis' intentions with doing this? Because we know that they were trying to harness this energy to rule the world, okay, or to whatever. It just makes your mind run wild of what was their angle, you know?
Well, so from what I understand, their purpose was to spy on the Allied forces.
Okay.
They could tell what they were through remote viewing. They could tell what they were going to do before they did it. You know what I mean? They could get in there and read their papers. Like, dude, if you listen to some of the documents that are read where these people are talking about it, the CIA had people going out and like viewing Mars and speaking to things on Mars and shit. And then they're like giving them coordinates and they're like, this is here. You know what I mean? And then they would see that this person's telling the truth. Like
that's the whole Men Who Stare at Goats movie is the whole remote viewing thing.
Yeah.
And the CIA doing that. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that'd be a great power to have. You know, I mean, it'd be almost be like being invisible. You know?
Well, I think we all do it because, like, remember when I said I was riding in the car with my mom, or who I thought was my mom?
Mm-hmm.
I was asleep there at the Conjuring House, and we got to our destination. And there was, as I walked to the church, which I could draw this church right now, dude. Like, I vividly remember this. There's a guy standing out there, and he kind of looks like the Swede off of Hell. What's that? That Western, Hell on Wheels or something. What was it called? The AMC Western. It was pretty good.
The Swede. You
remember the Swede? Yeah.
I
so
do.
The guy kind of looked like the Swede, right? And and then that was a stage of, that was a night's sleep. I got there, and then like there was the next night when I went to sleep, he was beating me, like, and he's telling me that I'm some kind of demon or something like that. And he's like throwing shit on me, and he's hitting me with this like whip, and I'm in the rafters of the church, and he's trying to grab me and hit me while I'm in there. It was very negative, but I think we go there regular. I think we do this, and we just, when we wake up, we don't have no recollection of doing it. And I think you could do it without the machine, right?
I mean, because dreams are, I mean,
you've had deja vu. You know what I mean? I don't know many people that haven't had deja vu. I had it today. You dream that stuff the night before or some other night, but when you have it, it's like, oh my God, I dreamed this last night. You know what I mean? And it's because I think when you're in that state, I think you can time travel. And that's what the Nazis were about. If you remember the bell, Kecksburg, or what was it called? The bell? What do you think they was trying to do with all that stuff, dude? Like, if you're going to move faster than the speed of light, you can't do it in your body, but you can do it in your mind. You could do it with your mind. And I think that may be a lot of it. If you look at how Bob Lazar talked about how the aliens operated their ships, they just sat in there and they did it telepathically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's mainly what a lot of this has opened up, because what we found with the house was kind of what we thought going into it. I thought all these things were possibly connected, but we had UFO activity or alien activity while we were there. Bigfoot activity while we were there, and paranormal activity. I think they're all connected, right? And I don't know what they are. I heard Tom DeLonge not long ago, not to talk about people who are mentally handicapped, but Tom DeLonge, he had a really good point. He was like, imagine having no emotion and then you come to some beings that have all these emotions, and they nourish your body. These, so they're like farming our emotions. You can get that fear out of us with a Bigfoot, a ghost, or an alien. All the same thing, probably some part of the simulation. We're probably laying in a damn tube somewhere, and there's shit hooked to us, and they're
Listen,
just
man.
over and over again.
Every time somebody tells me this, I'm like, then who did I screw over that I got to go to the post office every day? Because let me tell you, if that's part of the simulation, that's part of the simulation that needs the next version, that needs erased, that needs out of there. We need to have something.
Well, there's a lot of scientists that be like this multiverse thing that they talk about. I just think there's when you get down about being at the post office, just think there's a version of me out on some Caicos Island somewhere, drinking a drink, having a good time, and just feel good for that person. Feel good for that version of you, and then you can go on about your life.
I got to be honest. Every day I kind of think about you and how much better you're having it than me anyway. Just being you. I mean, just
you don't want that curse. You don't want that curse, bud.
Okay, okay, that really explains like that part of the doc. I mean, and I think people, when they then go to watch it, they're going to have a lot better understanding of what you guys are actually going through, since we can't really experience it with you. But to hear you put it in those terms, I think it'll really help people seeing what you guys are going through and understanding it. And the other part is so you mentioned burying people. Now, I'm not out there. I mean, I envy you guys having the gumption and the energy to go out there and do all these experiments and do these investigations. But why on earth would it ever cross your mind, and where does this come from, to bury somebody in order to...
Okay. You kind of made that sound like I'm crazy or something, so I want to clear the air. It was not my idea to bury somebody. That never crossed my mind. The owner was like, Stacy, the land is haunted. You should bury me in the ground. And I'm like, don't say that.
Because we'll do
it. And then, so we had a crew of people. So we built a coffin, and it was some kind of, we just kind of repurposed. When I do a lot of my building, I just repurpose things, right? So there was like this shipping box. It was a wooden crate, but it wasn't coffin material. And then we took, because there wasn't a lid for it, so we took what's that game called? Cornhole board.
Okay.
It was a cornhole board that had the Conjuring logo and stuff painted on it. And
wait, there's Conjuring merch? They got Conjuring?
Oh, yeah. Somebody had made it for the house and sent it up there. So I took it apart and took the surface part off of it, and it already had a hole in there. So then we stuck a PVC pipe in it and taped it up, to where the dirt couldn't set in there. But dude, we were getting down to where we got to where the coffin would fit into the ground with maybe 8 inches of soil, and we hit this massive rock. This damn rock had to be big as a half of a car or something. We couldn't get around it. So
you're in Rhode Island. You're in Rhode Island. I mean, all that land is, rock so far down.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place up there too. That's another thing about the house. The house has this very welcoming feeling to it. And you just got.
Come on, come on. So, okay, so the other part of the experiment is he goes in the coffin, and to begin with, RPG goes down in the well. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, with the idea that the water is going to act as a conductor of something, of the spirit. Okay. So this is a part that I was like trying to, there's so much stuff going on, it gets chaotic. So he has a headphone on, he has headphones on, and he's blindfolded. So it's kind of like sensory deprivation, right? But what is is there something playing through the headphones, or is he just,
yes,
because he's getting messages through the headphones?
No. So it's a spirit box, right?
Okay.
So a spirit box is a radio that sweeps through the channels really fast. Okay. And so the goal with that is we have Corey in the ground outside. We have RPG in the well, and they both have spirit boxes playing through their headphones.
Okay.
And now we've got them mic'd up, and we're in the library asking questions. So like we're up in the house, they're in the ground, and there's no way they can hear us, but they're saying every word that they hear. And it may or may not make sense with your questions that you're asking. It's pretty cool when there's a light flash and then somebody says orb.
Yes. I did know. Yes. I mean, I remember watching, all of a sudden there's this light flash and you don't think anything of it. And then somebody says orb and you guys are all like, whoa, wait, did you see that? And then you're like, oh my God, I did just see that. Like, but in the moment where you got, and there was, unless you guys did such an expert job of editing, there's quite a few times where the word lines up with what you guys are asking or talking about.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, what is that? Is that coincidence? Like, because when you have a skeptic, that they believe in coincidence, and I'm just like, damn, we need a statistician or something to hang around with us so he could be like, oh, well, that's a 1 in 3 million chance of happening. Okay, well, that right there, that's a 1 in 4 million chance of happening. And so now you just had all these 1 in an extravagant number things happen in a row. What's the chances of that?
Well, I think the whole spirit box thing, when you're watching it and not experiencing it, it definitely seems like it would have to be it's got to be a totally different level when you're experiencing it and you're hearing those words a lot clearer than what you're hearing it as you're watching it.
Yeah. So once it's in your headphones and it's blasting in your ears, it takes a moment to kind of get used to it. But once you get logged in with that, them words are coming out, and I always tell the guys, I'm like, hey, go with your gut, what you thought it was. You know what I mean? You say what you thought it was. And because if you sit there and study it, maybe you'll second guess yourself. Like he said, leave us or Jesus. It's like, what did you think it was when you first heard it? Because that's what it is.
Because you can talk yourself into either one of those. Leave us or Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, was there a couple times where there was a voice that came through that wasn't either one of those guys' voice? Did I catch that?
There was something that came through that nobody knew what it was. And it was very odd. And then when you listen back to the audio, you really don't hear it. I mean, you can kind of hear it, but like in the moment when we heard it, it was like stupid loud. I was like, what was that? You know what I mean? Because the thing is, we're hearing what they're hearing. You know what I mean? You can hear it chirp in the background. So we got their two audio, and then there's something else that wasn't neither one of them. and then it's like it's not there when the recording comes out. Yeah, I mean, it was still there, but it wasn't. It's like these Bigfoot howls. You'll hear these Bigfoot howls that people record, and they don't do it justice. When you're there in person, it's like, whoa, you know what I mean? But then when the audio recorder doesn't pick it up.
Yeah, there was so much going on. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to need to go back and watch this a couple more times just to see what that was going. And then, gosh, we've already been talking for almost an hour here. But so I want to touch on the seance quick before we wrap up, man. That at first I'm just, I don't know what to believe. I'm like you with the psychics and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure, in a standalone, the seance thing, I'm going to half the time say, I don't think I'm buying this. But when you combine it with everything else that's going on, if I had been there and sat down and be like, well, okay, there's going to be something happen with the seance. And again, there's like little things that go on, but the dude is like his head hitting the ground, hitting the table.
Oh, well, to that, because it was so insane, all the stuff that was happening. When he slapped his hand on the table, hard as hell, we're all like, what's going on? But Carl knew what was going on. Carl's like, yes.
Because he was there for the first seance, or the seance when
he was the guy who answered the ad. He was the first person to go out there, right? And so Josh slams his hand. When he slammed his hand, you'd be like, okay, he's acting. You tell me how he was acting, how he was performing those muscle spasms.
Yeah, that was. I saw that and I'm like, maybe if he had them just on it, involuntarily on his own, just have. It's another one of those. What are the odds that you're going to be sitting in a seance at the Conjuring House and have muscle spasms? I guess you could say it's fortunate, but was it?
Oh yeah.
Was it fortunate? Because I saw him looking down at his arm like, okay, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, it was when you have all that stuff happen, it's odd. And I know because you have shows like Ghost Adventures and they make all this stuff look so hokey, and I promise you when the television networks get behind stuff, the line on what's true and what's fake gets very blurry. Right.
Mm-hmm.
They can splay in and out of that. And we cut a lot out. That seance was an hour and 37 minutes. You only seen 20 minutes of it. There's a lot of other stuff that happened. We're thinking about releasing just it uncut and calling it Repossessed. Because if he got possessed, so we do repossession.
You should do you should do it in segments. Like, just release the seance as its own thing. Release I mean, if it's an hour and a half, I mean, that would be, that'd be kind of cool.
That's a movie right there, and we had, there was other segments we did, like we did this thing called Scaredy Cats, where we had these random people that we brought to the house, and they aged from in their 20s to the one lady was like 70, and they didn't know where they're going. And then they get there, and it's like, hey, welcome to the Conjuring House. And now none of these people had ever done a ghost investigation, and so we let them. Because we had intercom hooked up through the house, right? So we're just talking to them, telling them they got to do this task, and then they got to go and do this task, and then go down here and do a Ouija board in the basement, and None of these people had ever done it. But the thing was, we were trying to feed the house with as much fear and emotion as we could give it. Right. And so that was part of it. But that the seance had happened after the World Gate. And so, like, once we did the World Gate, everything, we did that first World Gate, and nobody really thought anything, negatively. But the stuff in the house, it seemed to, as the week progressed, more and more and more until the ending of the culmination of the second World Gate. But the seance was bad. Everybody involved had terrible things happen in their life. You'll see in the movie that we're all in the studio there, and that was the first time we had been together since then. It kind of ruined a lot of things for everybody. And I don't know if that has something to do with that. Like, is it because...
Or was it just because you were hanging out with Tony Merkel? I don't know.
It could have been that, but...
I'm just kidding.
But
I'm just joking. No.
No, you're not. But, Carl, we told him, hey, they told us no rules. I said, I just want something to happen. If you can bring a demon here, bring a demon here. If you can do anything, just make it happen. And it happened. Like, he breaks that wand out in the beginning, and then the part of the seance you didn't see was, it started out with Lucifer's hymn. Because, hey, if you tell me you can do something, well, damn it, I'm gonna call you bluff, right? Let's see it. So if I need to sit there while you're gonna conjure up a demon, I'll sit right here with you. I will witness. I will bear witness to what's about to happen. And hey, what's that? F around and find out. We effed around.
You found out.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Found out, dude.
Well, I'm gonna listen. I highly recommend everybody go out and check this out. Rent it, buy it. Especially now, go if you listen to this episode, if you want to hear more, go to you guys are on with Tony, right? I think that episode will be out before this episode comes out, and there's more background, more inside baseball about what happened there. And I mean, like I said, I could tell. No matter what happened, it had a profound effect on you guys, especially in the moment. And that was kind of like enough for me to say, okay, I don't know what really happened, but it affected you guys positively and negatively in different segments of that. And I mean positively, meaning not like, oh, wow, I'm, it's all such, but it was, you guys gained some information that you may not have had is what right. The positive part. But so tell everybody where they can go get it, and hopefully everybody will go check it out.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, it's the Conjuring House Experiments. It's on Amazon right now, iTunes, I think in the UK. It'll be on Tubi and some other platforms. Right now it's on Amazon streaming there. So yeah, man, it's about an hour and 50 minutes, and we didn't want it to be your typical paranormal ghost investigation documentary. We seriously tried to not do any of the EMF and the REM pod and all that same old stuff. And we hope at the end of the day, the emotions and the things that we were experiencing comes through the camera and gives you a different look on the whole subject, because it's not your typical paranormal documentary. You know what I mean? We employ some of that, but
well, I am looking forward to the World Gate experiment That's what I'm looking for. That's the documentary that I want to say. I mean, wow. I think that's
next level. I think it's next level stuff, man.
I think so. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, I gotta say, I would be way too chicken to do it, but I think it's cool that you are not too chicken to do it.
You shouldn't be. You should do it. Like, seriously, if we ever get it lined up again, you should come out and do it. But I'm telling you, bro, like, everybody in the world that can do this should do it. Like, I mean, seriously, I would like to one day, once we have it, because right now we're adding in EEG monitors so we can measure the brain waves and the activity. So we'll know exactly when you clicked out and for how long, if you even did click out. And then different kind of thermal sensors that can view where the portal's supposed to be, and then also view the participant as well. See if there maybe is a temperature change in the body when you click out.
If the body goes cold.
Yeah, then if we can, I don't know if this is going to happen, but we had brainstormed some type of scale to weigh your body to see if maybe there's a different thing. But, you don't need to look forward to that as much as you do the role of the Officer Marcus Davis in the new film that I'm writing called Tumbleweave. You need to be excited about that. So you'll love it. The guy gets put on suspension for getting caught pooping behind a gas station and wiping himself in a very weird manner, like the 3 seashells. So basically the story, a meteor lands in the hood and lands on a stray piece of weave, and then it molds, it becomes sentient, and then starts going around the hood and eating weave and getting bigger and bigger, and it's attacking everybody, and you're going to be the suspended cop.
Hey, listen, you write the part, I'll play it.
It'll be fun, man.
Well, Stacy, man, thanks for coming on and answering my questions and really kind of opening everybody's mind a little bit. And I hope everybody goes and checks out the Conjuring House Experiments and enjoys it. Give it a 5-star review, a thumbs up or whatever, and more people can check it out. And it'll just help. I think it helps you guys get to your next one. More people that watch this one will help you guys get your next one done. So
yeah, we got a stupid big plan for the next one. So hopefully this one goes well, and there will be a next one. So
I'm sure. All right, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, brother.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.